here so quickly. Okay, so let me just talk out loud while I type. So no sprints here, chatting about author mindset and a story time. Hi, Brittany. On how I started calling, bear with me a second, calling myself an author and not an aspiring one. I hope there's no captions in there. Not captions, spelling mistakes, because, okay, pin comment, because I really hate when, like, it's kind of hard to see any misspellings that you're doing when you're chatting quickly. But yeah, this is my first character or sprint I've been able to join for the retreat. Well, I'm really glad that you're here, Emma. I'm honored that you were able to make it for me. Thank you. Peggy, yeah, I feel you, Carly. Hang on. Get me catching up, starting. I'm definitely sick of looking at my own words today. It happens. I, in general, try to do more chats than sprints just because, honestly, I'm not very good at doing sprints. Hey, Emma. Because I get very distracted. But I felt really called to talk about this topic today, and I'm wearing my comfy clothes. This is like my Christmas sweater, best-selling author shirt, and the Grinch pants. So we're here in for a chat, and it might be a little bit emotional at times. I got my coffee in my new mug. I love it. Says my success is inevitable and I'm always on the right path, and I do want to talk about that topic a little bit. Got some water. There's socks on my table. I don't know why, but we're gonna go with it. Oh, thanks, Carly. You're sweet. Yeah, and I was definitely also very busy, Renee. I only caught maybe 2 of them today, and I was in and out of it a lot. Hey, Rose Jiff. So I have notes here so that I don't stay too off track. This is my notebook for July. I fill a whole notebook typically in a month. It's my challenge at the moment. So I have actually 3 pages of notes to try to keep me on track. If at any point you guys have any questions or things that you want me to elaborate on, hi Jack, hi Abbott, then post a comment and put Q : I really like that Brittany Wang does this. If you're still here, Brittany, I love that you do that, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Put Q : and then your comment, so then when I search through the comments after, I can address your questions, because I'm going to try to say my spiel first, spiel, and then go into everything after, because I get distracted. And hi, Natasha. And I actually, side note, let me do all the side notes before I get into the topic. My mom, I have this envelope here. She found my disciplinary report from kindergarten, Jack, my disciplinary report from kindergarten that says that I'm very easily distracted. So that's still a problem that I have right now. So it's kind of funny. So hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. There's this topic that has been on my mind a lot recently, and I've been journaling a lot on it. And it's something that I noticed some of you guys doing as well, not saying any names or anything like that, because this is actually a common practice. And I want to share you guys my story on why I think that we shouldn't do this kind of idea. And it is calling yourself an aspiring writer or an aspiring author or just writer instead of saying that you are an author. So I'm going to go into a long story tell about kind of my life the past 4 years or so, and how I first started writing, kind of the different shifts that my life has taken through those points, and then how it led me to just this past year telling myself I am an author, and not saying, I'm just an author that's not published yet, not basing the fact that you're an author on your actual publication, because there's so much that goes into that. And honestly, a lot of published books, some of them I don't even consider people authors, depending on how that kind of journey ended up happening. So anyway, I think that there's a big distinction between being author and being published. So I'm going to talk about that topic, and some of you guys know a little bit of this backstory, but I haven't gone into it so elaborately before, so it might be a surprise to some of you because it's not something that I mention a lot in my actual posts. So it's maybe only mentioned in like 2 of my 2,000 posts. And then the rest of the time it's something that's only been in these 24-hour stories or 24-hour live streams. So some of this you guys may not know about me. So anyway, I'm procrastinating. Let me just get started. So in my introduction section, oh, I feel nervous. I don't know why I feel nervous. Hi, Greg. Hi, everybody. Thank you, everyone that's joined. Okay, so I started calling myself a writer in November 2014. Around that time in my life, in a little bit beforehand, the year before, in 2013 is when me and my husband moved out and got our own apartment together. And it was a very huge transition kind of time. And, you know, obviously kind of like becoming an adult and being a provider for my family. I'm still the provider for my family. So my husband was at home taking care of the house and then the baby, and I was taking care of us all financially. And I worked as a social media marketer this whole time period. So I started my kind of social media journey in 2013 when I landed a social media job for a startup. Oh, thank you, Peggy. You're so nice. Oh, thank you, Brittany. And so I started off in the social media realm for a startup, and I did my first NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, writing 50,000 words, November 2014. That was when I was on my honeymoon. I got to about like 36,000 words, and I was like super pumped. I was like, oh my God, I am a writer. I am like so good at this. And like, you guys know, when you look back on your first drafts, you're kind of like, oh, like that was what I considered good. So it's kind of a little laughable when you see your growth. But anyway, so in November 2014, I was like, I am such a writer now. This story needs to be told. It needs to be out there. Oh my God. And then like a lot of people that start with NaNoWriMo, they just drop off. I picked up a few projects here and there, but for basically the whole year, I didn't do anything. I didn't write at all. But still in my head, I was like, oh, I'm a writer. Jump forward a few months. February 2015, I was laid off from my job. And like we just established, I was the provider of the family, and suddenly we had no money. And it was like, holy shit. And there wasn't like a severance package, you know, it was a small company. It wasn't like, I was let go in a way that I was like, wow, if I don't have money soon, like things are going to be pretty bad. So that was a big emotional time period. And I still, hi Alex, I still started calling myself a writer. I was like, oh, I'm a writer. And then I really felt like I was a writer because I started doing freelance writing while I was looking for other jobs. And you guys might find this kind of funny, but I actually like pretty much any job that I could get writing, I would take. Most of the jobs that I took were for $5 an article. And if you have ever been a freelance writer, you know that that's like being paid below the poverty line. Like it was really sad, but I was in a position where I needed to provide. So I needed to find as many ways as possible that I could make money. So I actually wrote I got a contract for 300 beauty-related articles at about $5 a pop. So there was a lot of funny things that I did that year. I wrote articles about zodiacs. I wrote articles for LGBTQ plus websites. I wrote articles about health and fitness and a whole bunch of things that I was not qualified to write about at all. But that's kind of how I got bitten by the writing bug. I started NaNoWriMo, then I was unemployed, and out of necessity, I took pretty much any writing job I could while I was looking for a new position in social media. Then that period of our life was 13 months. So for 13 months, I was just doing these one-off, ad hoc, random writing positions. And we charged up our credit cards. Our credit cards are still not paid off. It's been 2 years since then, 3 years since then. And we're whittling them down. But, you know, when you're unemployed for 13 months, doing articles at $5 a pop, things can get a little bit tense. So went through that whole period. Cut to December 2015. I had started like a first draft of like a novel told in verse, and it was kind of cute. And then I did like fan fiction. I wrote 30,000 words of a Hermione Draco fan fiction. So that was fun, really indulgent, but I was unemployed, so I did that. Let me add a funny note here. I also watched 3 seasons of Game of Thrones in 2 weeks. So there was a lot of, I know, yes, Hermione, totally. So fast forward to December 2015, we were really hoping that this period of our life was over, that we were going to get a job soon, and surprise, pregnant. So December 2015, we found Jack was in our life. So we had already been unemployed for almost a year. We were a little bit traumatized that we were also now going to be bringing in another mouth to feed. Obviously the best blessing that could have ever happened to us, and I feel like it really kicked us to think differently about our situation and find our next adventure. But you know, it was a surprise when you're unemployed for so many years. Not years, for so many months. Thank you. And then 3 months later, I found the job. So when I got my job, I was a little bit over 4 months pregnant. I was actually nearing close to 5 months by the time I told them that I was pregnant. So I accepted the job. I wore Spanx. I hid that I was having a baby, and I didn't post that we were having a child at all on the internet. Maybe only 5 people in my personal life knew. So it was a very high stress period of our life, and throughout that high stress, you would think if I was going back and thinking, oh, I'm a writer now, I'm so a writer, I'm writing a book, and then I only got to first drafts, partial first drafts, going through these weird cycles of ups and downs of creativity that none of it was consistent when I had all the time in the world. Back then, I would not consider myself an author. I was going through a really rough patch in my life, and I didn't change the perspective to see the possibilities of that rough patch. At the time, I was just going through something hard, and I had to just get through it, and I thought this was going to be the worst period of my life. And you'll see in a few minutes, some more shit went down after that. But, so I got the job, told them that I was pregnant. Thankfully, they did not fire me. Thank you. I felt like I kind of needed, you kind of need to share the ups and downs. Oh, I'm already getting distracted. Okay, hang on. I will address comments after. Calm down, Rebecca. So I went through all of that, got the job, told them that I was pregnant. And then once I got the job again, once I had the 40-hour work commitment, oh, thank you for the hearts, I started telling myself, I'm going to write a book again. Oh yeah, if they fired me, it would have been illegal, but they could have totally made up a different excuse. That kind of thing sadly happens all the time. But anyway, so I decided I was going to be an author again. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go back and I'm going to write that story. People need to hear my stories. And I did more of that NaNoWriMo, Camp NaNoWriMo, and I pursued other first drafts. Did anything ever come of those first drafts? No. But since I was starting now, I was like, oh, this is like my 4th project. I'm so serious. Now I'm an aspiring author. I am an aspiring author, and I'm going to have a great, amazing book deal. I am going to get swept off my feet by a crazy publisher, and my dreams are going to come true. I started having that kind of daydreaming cycle. I started putting myself in this future place. If you guys watch How I Met Your Mother, how Ted and Marshall are always like, oh, that's a problem for future Ted and Marshall. That was kind of like my mindset. I was like, well, right now I'm going through this really tough time. I'm in a job that's underpaying me. I don't feel fulfilled. I am pregnant. This is dramatic. But I'm going to be a best-selling author. I'm going to go on a book tour and everything's going to be fine. But I wasn't putting in the work behind that. I wasn't putting in the work behind that to make that part of my reality. I was speaking and not taking action. So jump forward a little bit after that, I had Jack. I went on maternity leave. It was a very short, unpaid maternity leave. And as soon as I came back, one of my coworkers left. She said, I got this great job opportunity. I'm leaving, by the way, they're hiring. And she kind of like slipped me the contact information, totally poached me. And I was like, wow, this seems like a really cool opportunity. It seems like a way to get out. And honestly, as the provider now with a new mouth to feed, I just needed to make more money. And throughout this whole time period, I worked with them maybe like 5 to 8 months. I don't remember exactly the exact amount of months, but I was there for less than a year. And this whole time I didn't have health insurance. I had health insurance through the government, because if you're paid and under a certain, if you're pregnant and under a certain income bracket, you can get insurance from the government. But my husband wasn't included. It was just me and my son. So my husband had no health insurance this whole year. And I was like, well, we need to leave. We need to get health insurance. We need to be paid more to support our family. My husband was at home taking care of our little family, and I needed to go. So I switched from that one job that was a startup that fired me. Then I switched to this job that was a small, very small company that was, it was in business for a long time, but it was under 20 people and limited resources. I switched from that job to a higher paying corporate social media job. And that's when life kind of, I was about to say fell apart, but I feel like it's more like it fell together. So I started this corporate job the last week of December 2017. So basically January 1st basically was my start date. And when I started there, I started picking up the idea for my current book, Ember Dragon Daughter. So the idea started percolating in my head. I started writing things down. I started brainstorming. And January through early March, I believe, I kind of just thought about this book and put on ideas and made outlines. This was the first time, you're going to find this hilarious, Brittany, out of all those 3 years beforehand, I did not plot at all. I was just making things up. The character journeys made no sense. Like, there was no sort of plot structure, act 1, 2, 3, no basic structure at all. So January, I was like, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm an author. And that is when I started kind of the baby steps of switching away from aspiring author to author. I wasn't totally there yet, but this is where it kind of started. I started researching. I started looking into what was needed. I started looking into how authors make money and doing research and just understanding the different complexities. Because before all of that, in those previous 3 years, it was a lot of naivety, a lot of assumptions. It was a lot of what pop culture thinks a writer and author is, rather than what an author actually does. And so I started actually creating my character journey. I started actually researching, and I was so excited, but I was also a whiny baby. And I say this with love, because I know all the things that I have gone through and that I'll continue to go through. I was a whiny little baby, January 2017. So I started writing my book that March. It took me from March to August to write that first draft. I wrote that first draft every single day during my lunch break. I would leave and I would walk to the park and I would start to put this book together. And you guys know, once you get past the first draft, you look at that first draft, you're like, oh God. But at the time when I was writing this book, I was telling myself, I am going to be an author. And I would always say going to be. I am going to be an author. I am going to take this far. I am going to get the 6-figure magical unicorn book deal that is going to take me away from this place. And I wasn't appreciating where I was. I wasn't appreciating all that I've been through. I wasn't grateful. I did not have a gratitude practice like I do now. Every day I spend like 10 minutes now every single morning thinking about what I'm grateful for and all that I've accomplished. And back then that wasn't part of my MO. I was just pushing through and thinking about this future me, as if this future me would solve all my problems. And I wrote the first draft, and I would cry. Like, I would cry a lot during that period. And I would tell myself, oh, I am going to be an author. I'm going to be away from this. And I wasn't appreciating where I was at all. And that's a huge mistake, because now it's like I can't imagine my life without my job. Now it's something that I actually look forward to and I strive in because of that perspective shift. But anyway, so I'll get to that part in a second, because there's more to this. And Greg, I do want to talk about your comment in a minute. But I kept telling myself that it was this problem that the future me wouldn't have. And then August hit, and this is where some of you guys know this story. August 18th, my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and that was traumatic, obviously. So I always like to preface by saying, we got that diagnosis, but we always knew fairly early on that we'd have a good prognosis. And I'm actually really happy to say that, it's been almost a year since then. He is actually going to be doing his last round of chemo, ever, in 2 weeks. So he's almost done with chemotherapy. But anyway, so that was a year ago. And at that time, I kind of had to shut down. I had to be like, okay, screw my book. I need to survive. We need to get through this. And from August to October, I didn't even think about my book. I was just like, no, it's gone. I don't care. It was just survival. And during those few months, kind of getting that rallying call, and thank you guys, your comments are so sweet. But through that time, kind of getting that rallying call from my job place, realizing how lucky I was to have a stable environment finally. After all those years of not really feeling safe, not feeling like a stable provider and going through all of that, I didn't have that gratefulness at all. I didn't understand the blessings that had came my way. And also kind of the weird shift of events that kind of got me to where I was. If I hadn't had been, because me and Chris were kind of almost not forced to move out, but we were in an uncomfortable situation and we jumped out the first opportunity that we could rather than waiting till we felt a little bit more stable financially. So we were kind of not kicked out, but for lack of better terms, I would say we were kicked out of where we were living. We bought our first place, was fired shortly after, unemployed for 13 months, and then had to figure out how to solve that problem while being pregnant. Then going to a position where I didn't feel very safe or valued or cared for, and just being frankly just very underpaid. Then going from all of that to this new big corporate environment, which, by the way, I have to drive 3 hours a day to get to this job. I drive an hour in the morning and 2 hours at night to get to this corporate job. But all of those little experiences built up to getting me to this position where this big corporation actually has donated over $12 million to cancer research organizations. They have stopped, they contribute so much to these causes, and helping people with cancer is so important to them. And when I came out and told them what happened, the support was just amazing. And I ended up in that right place because I went through all of this shit. So much crap. And at that really shitty underpaid job, I got experience on this really small niche website related to automotive industries that I never would have known existed. That small niche website experience is what got me this big corporate job. And I never would have gone for that underpaid job if I hadn't have found out I was pregnant while being unemployed. This is a job that I never would have taken. So all of it together brought me to that place where as soon as I joined, January 2017, I got my husband health insurance. And then 6 months, 8 months later, he was diagnosed with cancer, and we'd have to go through this huge journey of needing a lot of health insurance, to be frank. I have a folder of all of the statements from our insurance company. It's bigger than it's bigger than Harry Potter 7, how much documents are in this. So it's pretty intense. So just to add a little bit of humor there, the amount of insurance claims I've made is bigger than Harry Potter 7. So there you go. But anyway, so all of those experiences came together to teach me some very valuable lessons. And once I had all of those lessons, and I swear this relates to writing, as soon as Chris was diagnosed, and that October when I started thinking about my book again and preparing for NaNoWriMo 2018, no, not 2018, 2017. So that would have been my first big, huge NaNoWriMo as a parent. When I started that again, that's when I became an author. That is when I stopped telling myself I'm a writer, I'm an aspiring author, I am going to be an author. That is when I kicked all of that bullshit aside, and I said, November 2017, I am an author, publishing deal or no, because I was putting in the hard work, I was putting in the research, I was taking my work seriously, I was treating it like a job, and I was saying, I am going to finish this second draft, I am going to get a critique partner, and I did, I got 2 of them actually. I'm going to get a critique partner, I'm going to get feedback, I'm going to start building my author platform. I stopped taking shit for granted. I stopped being like, oh, one day future Rebecca won't have this problem. I said, instead of thinking about future Rebecca's amazing life, why don't I start thinking about building how to fucking get there? So everything shifted. Everything changed the second that I took myself seriously. The world started taking me seriously too. Oh, you guys are so nice. But anyway, so that November, I wrote my second draft ever. I finally went farther than the first draft, the willy-nilly. I started plotting my novel. I actually took action on the dreams that I wanted, because before, I've always been a big dreamer. I've always done so many things and never actually took that extra step. I would have those spontaneous, like, fairy butterfly moments where I would just be like, I'm doing this, and I would do it once. And then I would never keep making that consistent action to change my actual life. So in November, when I started telling myself I'm an author, then everything changed. And that's what I want to tell you guys to do. And Greg saying that your reward is calling yourself an author, that's not true. You're an author now. You are putting in all the work that authors do. You are creating your own deadlines. You're trying to meet those expectations, and all of you guys are doing it too. You are being an author. You just don't have a contract yet. You just don't have a publication yet. You are putting in all of this work. You are literally creating worlds with your mind. Like, if that doesn't make you an author, then we should never be authors, because if you have to do all of that to then get external validation from other people being like, oh, your book is on a website, oh, your book is on a shelf, that means that you've made it. When some people just fall into that. Some people just accidentally become authors. Some people have their own platforms in other ways that then leads them to being an author. But we are literally creating everything from our brain as if we are a god. And not to put like a god kind of thing in there, but it really is true that we're someone with a sandbox telling our world how to behave and act. And that's not something that everybody can do. That is something that only a certain subset of people can do and really put their heart into. So I want everybody, and I know some of you actually do, because I actually really, since I work in social media, I pay a really odd amount of attention to people's social media biographies. So I know some of you have in your bio, aspiring author. I want you to fucking take it off. Take it off now, put author, and put next to your book date, release to be announced. Like, it is happening for you. You are putting in that that effort, and you shouldn't sell yourself short by saying you're an aspiring author when you're not. Aspiring authors are always aspiring. It's something in the future that is not reachable. Talking about you in a future tense, you're always in a future tense. So, that was my rant. Let me make sure I didn't miss any notes, because I didn't look at them at all. Speaking of social media, that you guys are so nice. Okay, I can't wait to catch up on these comments. I was like peeking at them, but anyway. One thing that I wanted to tell you guys before I start talking and answering questions, that in 2014, when I first started writing my first book, that is now on a shelf and never to be seen again, I started changing my YouTube channel. I know a lot of you guys have YouTube channels, and I took that YouTube channel, kind of turned it on its head, and suddenly said that I was sharing stuff about books and writing, and to me that was action. It was what I was portraying outwardly, but it was almost like vanity. It wasn't me actually putting in the action I needed. It was me pretending to and putting that out on the internet. And then everywhere else in the interwebs, I was acting still like a lifestyle blogger, because that's actually my history. I didn't mention that, but I got my first job because I was a lifestyle and beauty blogger, and people thought that was interesting. But anyway, so even though November 2017 is when I started calling myself an author and started taking those extra steps needed, January 2018 is when I started building my platform, talking to people like you guys and getting to know you and what other authors are like, and really researching that author process. And not like numbers, like followers are such a vanity metric. Like working in social media, I'm telling you that the number of people that are following you is not as important as your influence. If you have 12,000 followers and only 1,000 care what you say, then it's not as impactful as if you have 1,000 followers, and each of those 1,000, like your return rate on your followers that actually care about you, that actually means a lot more. But anyway, so January 2018, when I started really putting that shift on my platform, wait, you're so funny, Kate. I'll go over what you guys are saying in a second. On January 2018, I had only about like 700 followers. And then, yeah, exactly, Brittany, influence over numbers. And when I started actually caring about the people that I was talking to, when I started engaging more with you guys and trying to give that personal connection, I literally doubled my followers this year. And again, it's not about followers, it's about the people that actually you engage with and care about. But I feel so much more fulfilled talking to you guys and having lost, like I probably lost 500 followers as I was gaining these, because I wasn't a mom blogger and a lifestyle blogger anymore. So it's being true to yourself and finding confidence in what you're saying. Anyway, okay, that was a lot of things. I missed a lot of comments. If I don't notice everything that you said, please just repeat it so I can find the comment again. But anyway, that was a lot of emotions right now. Oh my God. Okay, that was a lot of emotions. Let me scroll up a little bit. Yes, Kate. Plans are easy. I made a lot of plans and spreadsheets that I did absolutely bullshit with. Thank you, Emma. Peggy. Yep, Peggy. Rebecca said I'm an author. I'm an author. End of story. You are, Peggy. Peggy, you are an author. Oh, Charity. Charity, I so believe in you. You are really kicking ass. Brittany, I love how open and vulnerable you are being. Thank you. I love you too, Natasha. Thanks. Emma, thank you. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad that, Emma, this was the first sprint you saw today, because I hope that started on a good foot. Kate, I am so shy about mine too. Yes, Peggy. Okay, so that was about the CPs. CPs, seriously, getting feedback on your work has made, like, you don't even want to know what my other drafts looked like. Like, shit has changed since getting feedback. Feedback is instrumental. Verity, I need to rewatch the show. I missed the first chunk. Oh, I'm so glad that it's resonating with you. Definitely, I just kind of went on a big life story. Okay, I think I caught up with those. Charity, I can definitely relate with writer versus author mindset. I was writer up until the point I became serious, and then I became an author. Yes, and Charity, I keep thinking about your book cover. It is like drool worthy. I love you too, Kate. You guys are all so nice to me. Thank you, Carly. Okay, I think yes, we are kicking cancer's butt. I'm so very glad about that. But anyway, let me scroll to the bottom because I don't want to miss what you guys are talking about now. Oh, I'm so glad you guys feel inspired. Yes, kick butt. Kick butt, Emma. Get one, get two. Yeah, seriously, have as many as you can realistically handle. Actually, my main CP, which she just got on Instagram, her username is Amelia S. Morrow. Before she didn't have one, but she just got on Instagram. And a lot of you guys actually followed her. Thank you for that. That was really nice. But yeah, I told her today, you need to give me a deadline to finish the chapters you've given me, because if you don't give me a deadline, I'm not going to do it, because I'm like a rabbit. I'm jumping around everywhere. Abbott, dreams don't work unless you do. Yes, that is very true. Oh, I'm so glad, Emma. Yeah, the Pondering Writing Group has definitely been an inspiration, and I've made so many friends. Okay, let me scroll back down again. Brittany, you need to repost this live on your YouTube channel because this was epic. Every author needs to hear this. Oh, thank you, Brittany. I cleared up space on my phone, so I hope that it lets me save it. Because I would really want to. If not, I found out that at first I thought this wouldn't happen, but if you screen record and then turn on your live show, then you can keep the comments because you're keeping technically a recording of your screen, and you will be able to hear your voice. I was worried it wouldn't record my voice. The thing is, it's just hard to have that much space on your phone for a 1-hour chat. If you don't give me a deadline, I won't do it. If you give me a deadline, I'll do it the night before. Emma, you know that's true. Is that your critique partner? Sorry, I got a call. My critique partner is Amelia S. Morrow, and then also Kate Weiler. Let me write them down. I hope I spell their names right. Morrow and at Kate N. Weiler. I think those are how you spell those usernames, but I'm not totally positive. So check out who I'm following on my profile and you'll see them. But they're great people. They're amazing. Amelia, she's actually a family member. She was just over at my house earlier and we were sprinting while watching you guys. Yeah, for some reason, Brittany, I didn't think it would work, but it does work, so that's good. Yeah, Natasha, you're so sweet. Thank you. They're really great people. Kate, I don't talk with as often because she's actually getting like a degree in microbiology or something. Like she's getting her master's degree and she's like all badass and smart genius with like lab coats and looking cute, and then also writing her book. So we need to catch up a little bit more. Okay, so that was long. Using QuickTime Player 2. Oh, cool. Great idea. That's actually really smart. When should you look for a CP? That's a great question. I think it depends on when you feel emotionally ready. Brittany, teach me the things. Yes, I learn a lot from Brittany. But also, I feel like after the first draft. I feel like the first draft, you're really trying to explain things to yourself, and you can definitely build those relationships with other CPs, or with other people that are interested in writing. But I feel like exchanging chapters you should do while you're working on the second draft, because then you have a better idea of where you want your story to go, and then you can get the most value from a CP. Kate, could your CP be a writer in your genre? Not necessarily. Exactly, Carly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They don't have to write in your genre, but they have to read in your genre because they need to understand some of those common tropes and what is necessarily needed for your kind of story. Like my main CP, she hasn't read young adult fantasy in a long time, but she does read fantasy. So like she hasn't read the Sarah J. Maas books. And she was saying that my chapters, I have 35 chapters. She was like, oh God, that's a lot of chapters. And I'm like, have you read Sarah J. Maas? Like, no. Like she has like 70 chapters sometimes a book. So sometimes those little discrepancies can come in mind. And pondering CP Church, that's a great idea. But when you're, where was my thought? I think I need more coffee. I am like all kinds of flustered now. So I remember now. Just because someone's your CP doesn't mean, it's the same thing with beta readers. Just because they say something doesn't mean you immediately have to take their advice and change what you're doing. It has to do more with understanding where the feedback is coming from, because sometimes feedback is annoying and sometimes you hear things that you don't want to hear and you can't ignore it just because you don't want to hear it. But then also keep in mind, if it's something that routinely comes up, if your CP said it and your beta readers say it, then it might be something you need to consider. It's a learning curve, just like, oh, hang on, I missed something. Renee, I would fail my CP if I had one. That is not true. It takes an understanding. Having a critique partner is having a writing best friend. Like, think about Kim Chance and Megan LaCroix. They're more to each other just than writing partners. They actually care about who they are as a person and they understand what each other needs. So if, Renee, there's something that you are working on, you need a little bit more time with, or you can't get to their work right away, as long as you guys understand that and understand what's going on in both your personal life and your writing life, then it's totally fine. I'm definitely very behind in my CP work right now. And meanwhile, I am about to finish chapter 10, rewrites, my draft 3, and when I send it to my critique partner, I know that she's going to have it read tomorrow. And every time she's so on top of things, I feel sometimes kind of guilty because she's given me up to chapter 10 as well, and I've only read up to chapter 2. But there was a lot of other things going on this month, so she's fine with it. She just said, if you could read up to chapter 10 by the end of this month, that would be helpful to me. So it is about that partnership. Emma, I'm going to head out so I can prepare for my sprint. It was such an inspirational talk. Keep being a badass. Oh, thank you, Emma. You're a badass too. We're all pretty badass, honestly. I mean, we have been writing so much this weekend. It's been a lot. Emma, Peggy, I feel like we're already on the way to great CPs. That's awesome. You really do find, in these kind of writing groups, you really do find great relationships. And like, I think we can all agree that we're in love with Bruna. I mean, that's just a given. Everybody has to love the writer's journey. And also, that's just a really great username. So it's about building those relationships and seeing who you resonate with. And it doesn't have to be, like, sometimes if you feel like you're not on the same writing level, you can feel like, oh, I'm a little bit behind, or they're just so impressive, but that's not necessarily true. You kind of grow together. I legit needed this talk today. Thanks for the swift kick in the ass. Carly, you are seriously an author. You are an author, Carly. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This is some real, genuine, authentic content. Thank you. And yes, Bruna is magic. Bruna is amazing. Brittany, I have to head out, but this was amazing. Going to alter my bios for sure and feel inspired. Yes, Brittany, you own it. You're amazing. And also, like, you're, like, totally going to take over the writing world once you figure out what you want to do. Like, because you're going to, like, whatever. If you put out a program, I will buy it. So just start working on things you can sell to me because I'll buy it. And that's all part of those things. We build a lot of trust in each other, and you have to have that trusting relationship before you can ever invest in all kinds of ways in someone. Like, I know that you guys talked about finding CPs. If it's good to exchange like one or two. Oh, you guys are so nice. It's so cute. Once you guys, I feel like you should exchange one or two chapters first to kind of get that feel for how the other person writes, because you may not have, oh, you're so nice, Brittany. I seriously, sometimes I'm over enthusiastic, but I seriously, sell me whatever you're gonna make. But what the hell was I saying? Oh, that sometimes you don't know if you're a right fit for someone until you try their chapters. So I feel like it's always good in general to not commit to being a beta reader or a critique partner until you see if you guys' style will mesh. Peggy, I have to bounce, get dinner, enjoy your food, go be an author, and eat. Brittany, it's true. You are committed, determined, and inspiring. Yes, I completely agree about that. Let's exchange chapters, those who want CPs. Yeah, you guys definitely find your balance, because sometimes you can resonate with someone on a personal level, but their kind of book may not be the kind of book you want to read. And that is completely fine. You don't want to commit to someone just because you like them as a person. Watch your food around cats, yes. You don't want to commit to them because you like them as a person, and then you find out that their genre isn't something that you're actually interested in, because then you won't be able to provide the feedback that they need, and it's totally fine to tell that person that, because then you're not wasting their time. It's really important to not commit to something just because you feel bad, because then it actually doesn't serve anybody. But yeah, love the cat emoji. I don't use the cat emoji as often as I should. Let's go your cat stole your daughter's peanut butter and jelly. That's amazing. Those cats. Yeah, I put a cat in my story this morning, if you guys want to check it out before it expires, because no one knows that I have a cat, because she's like a Gorgonite. Yeah, there's a lot of mean and amazing cats out there. My cat isn't much of a cuddler. She's more of a hider. She's pretty much like if she had a forest, she would live in it and she would never come out. So most people don't know I have a cat, because when people come over, she is nowhere to be seen. If someone sleeps over, she will not go out to eat or poop until they are asleep. She will listen for when they go to sleep so that she can assess her needs. But yeah, I know a few of you got in late. Rachel, I don't know if you were in the beginning, but definitely anyone that came in late, rewatched the beginning of the live show, because there was my life story, basically, and it got kind of emotional, and I almost cried, and then everyone made me cry more. My cat fell off a chair during my first live. She is a fat little thing that only wants food and pets. You know, that sounds like awesome. I would love if my cat would just want to cuddle and sleep next to me, but she doesn't. Oh, thank you. I'm glad, you guys. I'm glad that it popped in my head. I was driving today on the way to my mom's. Yes, we are definitely all human. Oh my gosh. And if we weren't, then it would be diabolical. But anyway, yeah, I was driving to help my mom today. That's why I wasn't on all of these lives. And I ended up crying in the car. Because I was reliving my story in my head. So and I mean that in a good way, because like out of all that shit, I feel like we've become, like, just my family in general has become so strong, and I have no idea what would have happened if, like, to us, if none of that was real. Are you in Florida, Rebecca? I am. Hey, Miles. But Bye, Emma. Bye, guys. Talking about cats, and my cat purrs and rocks back and forth with his eyes closed. That's pretty adorable, Charity. You have to record that and send it to me. But yeah, oh, where are you in Florida, Kate? I am in Miami-Dade, but I commute to Broward. I'm really leaving now, bye. Okay, catch you later, Verity. I think that you're great, and I need more coffee. But anyway, I got this mug to inspire me. Like I mentioned in the beginning, my success is inevitable, and I am always on the right path, because none of that I could have planned at all. Around Orlando in the middle of nowhere. Did you go to Kristen Martin's book tour? Because I really wanted to go. Thank you again. Gotta go do mom things. Yep, that happens. Have a nice night, Carly. I will try to catch you for your 10 o'clock live. Around Orlando. Yeah, I really want to go to Orlando. We're going to try to go to Disney or Harry Potter in December. Oh no, you missed it. That's sad. I really wanted to go, but yeah, it was actually just a few weeks ago. If you follow Kristen Martin and Kayla Walker, Kayla went to Kristen's book tour stop, and it was in Orlando, in that, what's that place called? Of Gods and Monsters bookstore? I almost convinced people that I should drive up. Jack, thank you for the talk. This needed to be heard by every author and writer out there. I have to go and prep for day 3, but this was awesome. Good night. Yes, I will see you guys soon. I'll be able to go to a lot more of the live sprints tomorrow. So I think I will close this off a little early. I need to kind of organize my chapter, and I'll try to go to the rest of the sprints tonight. I believe there's 2 more. I will pay better attention now. Aw, don't worry, Kate. I'm sure they'll do another one. But anyway, so that is all I have for the evening. Thank you guys so much for coming and for your support. You guys are amazing, and seriously, you guys are already kicking ass. You're pursuing your dreams, and you're really taking action in your life. And I think that that's what makes people authors, is if they take action, and you really need to do that. Like, own that about yourself, because you're amazing, and don't belittle your journey. Natasha, I won't be writing the rest of the night, but I'll pop in and say hey. Kate, love your story, love your mug. Everything we are going through brings us to where we're supposed to be. Yes, everything does happen for a reason. It wasn't something that I originally thought, honestly, in my life, but looking back on it now, there's no other way that it could have happened, and we could have survived. So I do really feel like that's true. It's amazing. I watched the first half entirely. I definitely watched the replay. Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming and for your support. And remember that you're badass world creators. And we will talk very, very soon. I'll see you just in a few minutes at the next live sprint. So thank you guys for watching. Bye. Good night.